everybody who follows me knows
Yes.
that I am a big anti identity politics person. I genuinely do not believe that the basis of progress can be determined based on the way we play politics, either based on our religion or the tribe or where we come from. And I understand what he's saying around what other places call affirmative action, the need for representation and all of that. But fundamentally, those of us who are against identity as a marker for politics are against it not because we believe you're supposed to kill everybody's culture or we believe everybody should be put in a box, but we believe that ethnicity, religion, all of those things enhance our life but cannot be the center of what determines, for example, how we do our politics, particularly when you have diversity. So yes, you know, I've lived in Lagos now for what, 19 years. I'm married to a Yoruba man. I have a lot of, my life is enhanced by the fact that my ethnic makeup and the way I sort of relate to people is richer, is smaller. So from a cultural point of view, from an art point of view, from the way we live our life point of view, definitely identity matters. But when you make identity the center of the politics that you play, in a place that is as diverse as Nigeria, or in fact any other place that has that level of diversity, you're setting yourself up for problems. Indeed. Because that is going to be the primary thing that people look at when
which
they
has
are looking
been
to vote,
apparently, especially,
right? And we can see
elections,
that
yes,
happening in Nigeria. So I mean, I've been called a quota, what do they call that thing? Quota system beneficiary. I mean, I went to
I was just going to talk about
yeah,
that.
I went to the UK on a Chevening scholarship, not even a Nigerian government scholarship. The British government paid for me to go and do my postgraduate studies. I have been in spaces where people have looked at me in the face and said, hey, your father probably worked in government, stole money, and sent you to school. You understand? There are assumptions and there are stereotypes. But that does not mean I do not recognize the reasons. Nigeria has a fundamental problem.
All right.
Access to state resources are determined by where you come from.
I want us to drive
it is a problem.
Conversation to more specific spaces. Mr. Ikenwa, the Constitution as it is currently guarantees freedom of movement and residence. But there's also the reality of indigene versus settler divide, which continues to define things like access to jobs, education, and even political participation. In states like Plateau, Benue, and Kaduna, the crises and the conflicts that we've reported have been framed along indigene settler lines. In Lagos, this resurfaces during elections. At 65, should being Nigeria not be enough to confer equal rights anywhere and at any time?
Well, we seem to be so figure-centric when we talk about Nigeria at 65, forgetting that at 65, we're still a young nation. We're still trying to attain nationhood. And as it were, we're a country and we're not doing badly, as it were. But unfortunately, I would have loved us to go back to this subject of the Federal Character Commission to ask that question before we come back to what you were.
Well, you have 3 minutes, so you can choose which one to talk about.
Yes, because we tend to want to run away from the fact that, or from asking the question. I also ask questions as a lecturer, as a teacher. Has the Federal Character Commission and its purpose, its strategic intention, has it actually benefited Nigeria as a polity going forward? Has it made it possible for us to, in some cases, second, merit for meritocracy for other factors like inclusivity? If you go back to your own history, if you go back to where you're coming from, I mean, I grew up with civil servants, and I grew up with civil servants that you would see shed a tear or two because they were denied promotion, even though they were qualified, simply because a quota had to be filled up and they didn't come from that state or they didn't come from that section of the country. So how far can we promote the progress that we all aim for if we have a system in place that pushes for diversity, that pushes for inclusivity, but is not equitable? That is a question we must go back to from time to time. Now, the question of indigenship and the issue of whether, as a Nigerian, you should have the right to be able to live anywhere in the country. It's one that is quite deep. it's one that actually we can substantiate when we look at the kind of political culture that we have over time. Now, for students in politics, they'll tell you that there are three types of political culture. You have the participatory, you have the subject, and also you have the parochial. And so the participatory culture is the one where you find out that a lot of citizens are actually involved, in the politics, in the system. And this conversation today actually started in my house, where I asked a couple of young people the question, are you proud of your country? Are you proud to be a Nigerian? And I don't want to tell us here what their answers were, but I asked another young person, she's 21, another question. I think they're called the Gen Zs. I said, if you were given 100 million naira and given the opportunity to become a citizen of a Western nation, what would you do? And the Gen Z told me that she would take the 100 million naira, get a passport, and get out of Nigeria. So that... I'm happy the DG of the National Orientation Agency is here. We have a lot of work to do on the minds of our young ones.
And it will be lesser in value by the time you change it to dollars or pounds.
Sorry.
I said lesser. Of course it will.
But why is that the case? That comes to the issue of, am I appreciated as an indigent?
All right.
Am I appreciated as a citizen? Why would I be born in Lagos, for instance? I'm happy that Kadaria talked about her history and her marriage. That's very good. I'm a product of two tribes. My father is from Delta State. My mother is from Lagos State. And my name is Ikenwa. But I know that if I go back to my people in Ikorodu, at some point in time, they would remember that I am the son of an Igbo Delta person, from Delta State. But even in my own place in Delta, when they try to describe me sometimes, they will say, Omo Iyawo Yoruba, the son of the Yoruba wife. Why do we have those issues? Why have we had them since 1960? Why have we had them even in this century that we find ourselves?
I answered that question.
Yes, let me bring
the question.
I did.
How? What's the answer?
Let me bring.
You say we have a problem with organizing ourselves.
No.
Let me bring the DG in.
Yeah,
this will go round.